The maintenance bay was a symphony of grease, ozone, and the low hum of failing fluorescence. He wiped his hands on a stained cloth, looking at the sleek foreign shuttle that had limped into his dock. Its graceful lines were marred by a jagged scar along its port side, the result of a run-in with orbital debris. The pilot, the only occupant, stood a few paces away, her posture rigid. She was tall, willowy, with skin the color of brushed platinum and hair that fell in a cascade of fine crystalline filaments. Her eyes, large and luminous, held a glint of something he couldn't place anxiety, perhaps. Her clothes were simple, a gray flight suit, though the fabric seemed oddly fluid. She watched his every move. "Nasty gouge," he said, his voice calm in the noisy bay. But the primary hull integrity seemed sound. "It's mostly the sensor array and the auxiliary motivator. I can have it sorted in a few days." She gave a curt nod, her hands clasped tightly before her. She had not spoken since her terse request for assistance upon landing. He went to work, his movements methodical. He was the only human on this backwaterway station, a lone mechanic servicing the occasional tramp freighter or tourist craft. He liked the quiet. As he began unbolting the damaged plating, he noticed her tension. She flinched at the sound of a dropped spanner. Her luminous eyes darted to the station's main access door every time it cycled open. He paused, setting his tools down. "You're safe here," he said, not looking at her, focusing on a conduit. "Station security is old, but it's reliable. And my bay has its own locks." She was silent for a long moment. "I am not accustomed to unfamiliar places," she finally said, her voice a melodic chime. "Nobody is," he replied with a shrug. "That's universal. Want some tea?" "I just boiled water." He did not wait for an answer, moving to a small, cluttered side room that served as his kitchen. He poured 2 mugs of strong, earthy tea from a dented pot and brought one out, placing it on a clean crate near her. He then returned to the shuttle, sipping from his own mug. Slowly, over the next hour, she relaxed. The tea helped. His quiet, undemanding presence helped more. He asked no probing questions. He simply worked, explaining in a soft monotone what he was doing, replacing the fractured sensor nodes, re-soldering the motivator linkages. It was just shop talk, a stream of calming technicalities. At one point, a loud clang echoed from a neighboring bay. She startled, her hand flying to her wrist. He merely looked up. Just old man Meikle dropping a fuel drum again. He's about as graceful as a neutron star. A sound escaped her, something between a sigh and a soft chime. It might have been a laugh. He showed her the station's tiny viewing gallery, a dome of scratched plexisteel pointing at the nebula that painted the local space in hues of violet and amber. He shared his bland, pre-packaged meals without comment. He lent her a spare blanket, thick and warm, when he noticed her shivering in the station's chill climate controls. He treated her not as a strange alien, nor as a customer, but simply as a nervous being who needed a quiet space and a steady hand. On the 3rd day, as he was running the final diagnostics, she approached him. Her demeanor had transformed. The tension was gone, replaced by a serene, regal poise. The gray flight suit seemed somehow insufficient to contain her presence now. "You have been remarkably kind," she chimed. "You asked for nothing. You offered solace without expectation." "Why?" He powered down his diagnostic tablet. "Because you were scared," he said simply. "And being adrift is hard enough without being frightened, too." She studied him, her large eyes reflecting the bay lights. "My people value equilibrium above all. Calmness is our highest virtue. You have shown more of it than any being I have ever met, including my own." She gestured to the shuttle. "The payment we agreed upon is insufficient. I will transfer more." He shook his head, a faint smile on his face. The price covers the parts and my time. It's fair. You don't need to do that. I insist, she said, and her tone held a finality that brooked no argument. She produced a small data sliver, not from a pocket, but from a compartment on a slender bracelet he had not noticed before. She pressed it into his hand. This is a private frequency, a direct line. If you are ever in need, use it. It is a token of my personal debt. He nodded, accepting it to be polite. Thank you. Safe journeys. She boarded her repaired shuttle. It lifted from the deck with a whisper of anti-gravity, far quieter than any ship he'd serviced, and slipped out of the bay doors into the void. He thought little of the encounter in the following months. He used the standard credit she'd left, finding the sum more than generous. He tossed the data sliver into a drawer with other odds and ends. Life on the station resumed its quiet, grimy rhythm. Then the raids began. A corporate entity, Galaxy North Dynamics, claimed his station sat on a newly discovered mineral-rich zone. Their claim was dubious, their methods aggressive. They sabotaged his life support regulators. They hired local ruffians to intimidate him. A fee for orbital usage arrived, a sum designed to bankrupt him. Legal threats, peppered with ominous undertones, flooded his comms. He was one man against a galactic megacorp. He was going to lose everything in a moment of quiet despair. He remembered the sliver. A direct line, she had said. A token of a debt. It was a foolish hope, but he had none other. He dug it out, plugged it into his terminal, and sent a simple, brief message. He explained his situation with plain facts, no embellishment. He did not truly expect a reply. The reply came in 12 hours. It was a single line of text. Equilibrium will be restored. An hour later, his terminal lit up with incoming traffic. First, a notice from the Interstellar Commerce Commission, dismissing all claims by Galaxy North Dynamics against his station, citing numerous violations of frontier law. Then, a confirmed transfer of funds from an escrow account, covering all damages and inconvenience with a sum that left him numb. Finally, a brief, formal missive from the Office of the Xenocultural Exchange Advocate, informing him that the station and a considerable volume of surrounding space had been registered under his name in perpetuity, with all tariffs and taxes prepaid for the next standard century. He sat in his chair. Stunned. The next day, a flotilla arrived. Not warships, but vessels of breathtaking elegance and obvious power. They took up positions around the station. At their heart was a ship that looked like a sculpted jewel, its hull shimmering with latent energy. A shuttle, far grander than the one he'd repaired, detached and docked with his bay. The doors opened. She emerged, but not as he had seen her. She wore a gown of shifting light, and a delicate circlet held back her crystalline hair. An aura of immense, tranquil authority surrounded her. Behind her followed attendants of her species, their heads bowed. She walked to him, where he stood in his grease-stained coveralls. The alien queen, ruler of the famously reclusive and unimaginably wealthy Vale, smiled. "You helped me calmly," she chimed, her voice still melodic, but now resonating with power. "You offered tea and quiet and safety. You asked for nothing. My people have watched yours from afar. We saw your chaos, your passion, your noise. We misunderstood it. In you, we saw the core. A being who values peace, not because it is a philosophical absolute, but because it is a kindness to offer to another." She gestured, and an attendant brought forward a small case. "The material transfers are mere formalities. This is my true gratitude." Inside, on a bed of midnight velvet, was a simple, sturdy mug. It was handmade ceramic. "It is not from my world. I had it crafted on yours. A replica of the one from which you shared your tea, to remind us both that the deepest equilibrium is found not in silence, but in shared calm. He took the mug, his mechanic's fingers feeling its rough, honest texture. I don't know what to say. Thank you. You need say nothing, the Queen said. You already did everything that mattered. This station is now under the protection of the Veil Sovereignty. Your calm has earned you a peace that even the loudest powers in this galaxy will not dare to disturb. She departed then, her flotilla gliding away into the stars. He stood in his bay, holding the ceramic mug, looking out at the newly painted nebula. He had not fought a battle. He had not fired a shot. He had simply been what humans, at their best, could be. He had been kind to a stranger, and in doing so, he had quietly, calmly, changed the fate of his little corner of the universe. The news feeds would later buzz with speculation about the reclusive, Veil's sudden interest in a backwater station and its lone human keeper. They would theorize about secret deals and hidden technologies. He never told them the truth. He would just sip his tea, look at the stars, and smile. It was a good story, but it was his. And sometimes, the most powerful force in the galaxy is not wealth or weapons, but a moment of quiet kindness, offered without a second thought.